Ever have one of those days when someone's so convinced you belong to their world that you're expected to solve every problem, even if you're just passing through? In today's deep dive, we journey through 6 epic encounters from Reddit's r/IDontWorkHereLady that'll have you laughing, shaking your head, and wondering if common sense has finally gone extinct. These tales prove that when entitlement runs amok, sometimes the most powerful response is a calm, unequivocal, "I don't work here." Story 1. The busy afternoon and the reply, "I don't work here." On a mildly sunny afternoon, in a modern retail store at the heart of the city, the atmosphere was as lively as a bustling melody. The fluorescent lights flickered, illuminating neatly arranged shelves, with each product displayed like a piece of art. The beeping of barcode scanners, the calls of sales assistants, and the hurried footsteps of shoppers blended together into a dynamic, energetic scene. Amid the crowd, a young man dressed casually stood near an electronics display section. He wasn't doing much, just waiting for his friend while absent-mindedly glancing at the products, a mix of curiosity and exhaustion in his eyes due to the peak hour rush. No one could have guessed that within minutes, this seemingly ordinary moment would turn into an amusing incident for everyone around. Suddenly, the store doors burst open, and a middle-aged woman stormed in with a determined look. Her eyes burned with confidence, and a hint of stubbornness. She carried an invisible weapon, the belief that anyone in her path must cater to her needs. Without hesitation, she marched straight toward the young man, stopping right next to the glass display case where the products gleamed under the store lights. "Excuse me, sir. Aren't you a store employee? I need to find a specific item right now." Her voice rang out like an urgent command, momentarily silencing the chatter around. The young man, caught off guard but still maintaining a gentle smile, replied calmly, "Sorry ma'am, but I don't work here." His tone was neither disrespectful nor dismissive, just a simple fact he wished to clarify. The moment stretched as the woman scrutinized him, disbelief flashing across her face. Her eyebrows furrowed, her frustration building, and she began to accuse him. "You clearly work here. Why else would you be standing in the aisle like this?" She grew increasingly agitated. "You must know where they sell this product. The advertisement said employees are always available to assist customers." The young man remained composed, gently repeating, "I'm really sorry, but I don't work here. I'm just waiting for my friend." That simple yet powerful response started to ripple through the store. Shoppers who overheard the exchange began to take interest, exchanging amused glances. Some chuckled quietly, while others discreetly pulled out their phones to record this unexpected moment of everyday comedy. The woman, unwilling to accept reality, continued her tirade. "You have to be an employee. If you don't help me, I'll call the manager right now." Despite her outburst, the young man remained unshaken, offering only a polite smile and a calm explanation. He even turned to some nearby shoppers and said, "Honestly, I just came here to buy something for my friend. I have nothing to do with this store. I understand that people make mistakes, but I hope she realizes that now." The tension in the air gradually shifted into mild amusement. A few customers burst into laughter, not to mock the woman, but to admire the young man's quiet confidence and firm stance in setting boundaries. The incident transformed into a small lesson about not assuming that everyone around you exists solely to serve your demands. After several minutes of complaints, the woman seemed to recognize the undeniable truth. No matter how much she protested, the young man stood his ground. In the end, with one final exasperated frown, she turned away without another word, leaving behind a store filled with quiet chuckles and an odd mix of amusement and sympathy for the absurdity of the situation. As the commotion settled, conversation sparked among the customers. Some mentioned that they would share the story on social media, highlighting how sometimes, a simple, calmly spoken, "I don't work here," can shatter assumptions and arrogance alike. In a quiet corner of the store, an elderly woman smiled and whispered to her companion, "It's funny how people assume they can demand service from anyone. Sometimes, we need to remember that not everyone is here to cater to our needs." Though just a brief encounter in a single day, this story left a lasting impression, a small but meaningful lesson on mutual respect and personal boundaries. It reminded everyone that each individual has the right to define their own role, and no one should be forced into a position they never agreed to. The laughter and shared conversations that followed reinforced an important truth. In life, maintaining politeness and respect for one another is invaluable. Through this story, we learn that even in a world filled with assumptions and unreasonable demands, the power of speaking the truth, calmly and confidently, can shift the entire atmosphere of a public space. The young man didn't just protect his own privacy. He also created a moment of reflection for everyone around him on how we treat others in everyday situations. Story 2. Job upgrade? In the spacious interior of a modern electronics store, bright LED lights illuminated shelves filled with the latest models of laptops, smartphones, and tech accessories. The bustling atmosphere was accompanied by the murmur of customers and promotional announcements playing over the store's speakers, creating a vibrant and youthful energy. Amid this lively scene, in a quiet corner of the store, a casually dressed man was carefully examining the latest laptop models. He was just an ordinary customer like everyone else, searching for a computer that suited his personal needs. Before long, a well-dressed woman, holding a mobile phone in her hand and radiating an air of confident determination, unexpectedly approached him. Her poised stride exuded elegance, but her tone carried an underlying arrogance that was hard to ignore. "Excuse me, sir," she began, her voice sharp and authoritative. "Can you help me upgrade my job? I need to know how to get the latest model without wasting too much time and hassle." The man, initially taken aback by the strange request, blinked at her for a moment as if trying to confirm he had heard correctly. Then, with a gentle smile and a calm demeanor, he responded, "Sorry ma'am, I'm just here to buy a laptop. I don't work here." For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze amidst the store's energetic buzz. The woman's expression shifted instantly, her initial confidence giving way to surprise and a hint of embarrassment. She fell silent for a few seconds, her eyes scanning his face, perhaps searching for any sign that he might change his response. But the man remained composed, reiterating his statement with unwavering certainty. "I'm sorry, but I'm not an employee of this store." That simple response seemed to strike her like an unexpected blow. Though she attempted to reassure herself, convincing herself that he must be hiding an important role within the store, the quiet honesty and unwavering clarity in his words shattered her assumptions. Her initial self-assurance wavered, while a few nearby shoppers, having overheard the exchange, started exchanging amused glances and subtle smiles, savoring the humor of the moment. The atmosphere in the store gradually shifted to one of friendly amusement and excitement, as people began whispering about what had just happened. Some shoppers quickly pulled out their phones, eager to capture the moment and share it with friends and social media. The woman, though still trying to justify herself, slowly realized that her expectations and sense of entitlement had been exposed for what they were. In the end, she quietly walked away, leaving behind a store filled with light-hearted laughter and whispered discussions about the bizarre job upgrade incident. This story wasn't just a humorous episode from everyday life, it was also a lesson in not assuming that those around us exist solely to serve our expectations. Sometimes, the truth is as simple as the fact that everyone has the freedom to choose their own role, and no one should be forced into a mistaken assumption. The man's calm words opened a new perspective for those who witnessed the exchange, showing that humility and honesty can be the most powerful tools against arrogance and preconceived notions. And in that fleeting moment, amid the fast-paced shoppers in the electronics store, a single phrase, "I don't work here," became a testament to personal freedom and mutual respect in modern society. Story 3. He doesn't work here, ma'am? In the lively atmosphere of an electronics store in the heart of the city, neon lights shimmered, reflecting off shelves displaying the latest laptops, smartphones, and tech accessories. The store buzzed with the chatter of customers, soft background music playing from the speakers, and the hurried footsteps of shoppers, creating a dynamic scene where everyone was engrossed in finding their perfect purchase. Amidst the commotion, in a quieter corner of the store, a young man dressed casually was deeply focused on examining a newly displayed laptop. He was completely undisturbed by the noise around him, engrossed in comparing specifications and prices on his phone. No one could have predicted that just moments later, a surprising encounter would turn this peaceful moment into an unforgettable memory. A middle-aged woman, with sharp features and an air of confidence, approached the young man. Her eyes gleamed with a sense of entitlement, as if she believed that everyone in the store was an employee ready to serve. Without hesitation, she spoke in a firm voice. "Excuse me, sir, is this the section where staff provide detailed product consultations? You're one of the tech specialists here, right?" The young man, slightly surprised by the demanding question, simply gave a small smile and responded calmly. "Sorry, ma'am, but I'm just a customer looking to buy a laptop. I don't work here." The moment hit her like a shock. Her eyes twitched slightly, unable to comprehend his response, while a few nearby customers paused to listen, suppressing quiet chuckles. She wasn't ready to accept this answer and insisted that he had to be part of the store's staff. She said, "That can't be. I've seen you wearing the uniform before, and everyone knows that only employees here are allowed to give in-depth consultations like that. The young man remained polite, but his voice stayed firm. I'm very sorry, ma'am. I'm not wearing any uniform. I'm here just like everyone else, to shop. Those words seemed to leave her even more flustered. She glanced around as if searching for proof to support her claim, but all she saw were busy shoppers, each minding their own business. Some customers chuckled under their breath, while others quietly committed the amusing incident to memory. After a few moments of ineffective arguing, the woman fell silent. Her expression shifted from frustration to uncertainty, as if she was beginning to question whether she had misunderstood everything. She shook her head, sighed, and turned away without another word of protest. For a brief moment, the air in the store seemed to pause. Some customers began murmuring among themselves, sharing their disbelief that someone could assume every person around them was there to serve them. A woman nearby whispered, "Look at that. Even though we're all just customers, sometimes someone else's confidence and honesty make us rethink how we treat people." The young man stood there, casually returning to browsing laptops, but there was a hint of satisfaction in his expression, realizing that, with just a simple statement, he had helped many people understand that not everyone exists to serve on demand. This wasn't just a humorous shopping moment, it carried a deeper message. Everyone has the right to personal freedom, and no one should be forced into a role based on someone else's assumptions. Arrogance and prejudice often stem from false expectations, and sometimes a single honest response is enough to shatter those illusions. Mutual respect in public spaces is essential for creating a healthy shopping and social environment. As the afternoon wore on and the store gradually emptied, the story of "He doesn't work here, ma'am" was passed around like an inside joke, retold by different groups of customers. Each time someone heard it, they felt a sense of pride in witnessing a moment where honesty and confidence triumphed over entitlement and assumptions. And while we may sometimes encounter unreasonable demands from others, the phrase "I don't work here" remains a simple yet powerful reminder of personal freedom and mutual respect. Through this story, we learn that in the fast-paced, high-pressure world we live in, even a simple response can create a ripple effect, helping build an environment where people are valued for who they are, rather than the roles or assumptions society places upon them. Story 4, fired from Walmart but still not an employee here. In the vast, bustling space of a shopping mall, where neon lights gleamed and the chatter of customers created a lively, fast-paced atmosphere, there existed stories where fate's irony perfectly collided with outdated assumptions. This story began with someone who once worked at Walmart, a well-known brand familiar to everyone, but destiny had eventually forced them to leave behind their recognizable uniform. One day, as they stepped into an electronics store next to the mall, this former Walmart employee, now just an ordinary shopper, was carefully selecting a laptop for themselves. They had moved on, striving to live on their own terms, free from the expectations others had about their previous job. However, fate had other plans. It wasn't going to let them forget their past so easily. As they quietly examined the products, a middle-aged woman approached with a determined look in her eyes, as if she still believed that the familiar face before her belonged to someone wearing a Walmart uniform. With a sharp tone she asked, "Excuse me, can you explain the return policy to me? And could you help me get the special employee discount?" The laptop shopper, with a hint of amusement in their gaze but maintaining a calm demeanor, replied, "Sorry ma'am, but I don't work here anymore. I'm just shopping like any regular customer." That simple answer shattered the woman's expectations. She stood there, slightly flustered, her confidence fading into confusion. It seemed as if she couldn't comprehend that the person she once recognized as an employee was no longer part of Walmart. Trying to justify her mistake, she insisted, "But you still look just like. I've seen you in the uniform before." The shopper gave a small smile, their voice steady yet firm. "That was my past. Now I'm just a shopper. My past doesn't mean I have any obligation to serve or explain policies to anyone anymore." In that moment, the atmosphere in the store subtly shifted. A few customers who had overheard the exchange shared knowing glances and light chuckles, amused by the situation. They realized a simple truth. Just because someone once worked for a well-known company, it didn't mean they had to carry that role forever. The middle-aged woman, initially determined to stand her ground, eventually had to accept reality. With no argument left to make, she shook her head, muttered an awkward apology and walked away. The incident became a small yet memorable moment, later retold by those who had witnessed it. Customers around the store began discussing the situation. An elderly woman whispered, "It's funny how people assume that everyone must always be there to serve them. The past is just the past, our present and future are ours to decide. This story wasn't just a humorous encounter, it carried a powerful message about the right to change and redefine oneself. Despite once wearing the uniform of a major brand, this person had chosen to step away and live their own life, free from old labels. When others mistakenly assumed their role, they calmly reaffirmed, "I don't work here," a statement full of strength, proving that one's current identity is not dictated by their past. Through this story we learn that everyone has the right to change and define themselves however they choose. The past may be significant, but it should never be a barrier to the present or the future. Sometimes, a simple and honest response is enough to break down misconceptions and misguided expectations. The tale of the former Walmart employee became a striking reminder of the power of change and personal freedom. It teaches us that while others may cling to our past, our present is what we shape for ourselves. And when faced with people who still expect us to fit into our old roles, a simple "I don't work here" is often all it takes to dissolve their illusions and turn the page to a new chapter, a chapter we write on our own terms. Story 5. I pay my younger brother $100,000 a year, yet he still thinks it's not enough. One afternoon at a quiet cafe in the heart of the city, warm sunlight bathed the space, mingling with the murmur of conversations and the subtle hum of everyday life. This was a place where successful individuals and those who valued family bonds gathered, to share, to reflect, and sometimes to tell stories that could make people smile, or shake their heads at the absurdity of entitlement. At a small table, a middle-aged man named Min sat. He had built a stable career and took pride in his ability to care for his family. Out of love and responsibility, he had been supporting his younger brother, Tuan, by providing him with a yearly allowance of $100,000, a substantial amount, to ensure his brother had every opportunity to live well and chase his dreams. However, not everyone appreciates what they receive. During a family gathering at this cafe, Min sat across from Tuan. The atmosphere was warm at first, filled with laughter and casual conversations. But as the topic shifted to responsibilities and expectations, tension began to surface. Tuan, now an adult but still clinging to childhood habits, spoke with an air of entitlement. "Brother Min, with the amount you're paying me each year, I think I deserve certain privileges. I want a luxury car. I want you to take care of everything for me without expecting me to do anything in return." Min, smiling faintly but with a hint of sadness in his eyes, replied, "Tuan, you know I always want to help you, but this money isn't meant for you to live lavishly. It's meant to give you the chance to be independent, to carve out your own path." But Tuan wasn't satisfied. He kept pushing. "But if I'm getting paid $100,000 a year at the very least, I should be treated like a high-ranking employee in the family. I deserve things that most people can only dream of." The room grew quiet as family members exchanged glances, sensing both disappointment and frustration in Tuan's words. Min, ever the patient older brother, explained in a calm yet firm voice, "Tuan, I never gave you this money just for you to take and do nothing. It's meant to be a stepping stone for you to learn, grow, and take responsibility for your own decisions. If all you do is demand more, you're robbing yourself of the chance to truly develop." Instead of listening, Tuan became even more insistent. "You don't understand, Min. If you're giving me that much money, I believe you should take care of everything for me. I don't want to worry about work or responsibilities, I just want to enjoy life as the brother of a wealthy man." As the argument escalated, the cafe's background noise seemed to fade. Min's sister Lan sat quietly, her eyes reflecting both sadness and disappointment. She thought to herself, "Tuan doesn't seem to understand that the money Min gives him isn't a reward or an endless allowance. It's an opportunity to build his own future. He should learn to appreciate the value of effort rather than just expecting things to be handed to him." After taking a deep breath, Min looked at his brother and said, "Tuan, I love you, but you have to realize that a person's worth isn't measured by what they receive, but by what they create for themselves. I believe in you, but you need to take responsibility for your own life." The conversation stretched on, but eventually the heated words gave way to silence. The once lively cafe now felt heavier, with only the soft background music and the quiet whispers of other customers filling the air. Finally, after a long pause, Tuan lowered his head and said nothing more. His entitled demand seemed to dissolve, replaced by an internal struggle, a realization slowly taking shape. After that day something changed in Tuan. Though he had been given a generous allowance, he began to wonder if he had been avoiding responsibility all along. Sleepless nights followed as he contemplated the meaning of independence and personal growth. Eventually he came to understand. Maybe I misunderstood the purpose of this money. It wasn't meant to keep me comfortable forever, it was meant to give me a chance to prove myself, to take risks, to learn, and to grow on my own. Over time, Tuan changed. He sought out work, learned to manage his own finances, and gradually realized that life wasn't just about what you receive, it was about overcoming challenges, learning from failures, and growing through experience. His family, witnessing this transformation, felt relieved and proud that their once dependent younger brother was finally stepping into his own future. Min and Tuan's story later spread across social media, resonating with many who saw it as a lesson in family, independence, and self-worth. People reflected on the fact that no matter how many advantages one might be given, true value comes from personal effort and the ability to stand on one's own feet. From this story we learn, money and financial support are merely tools, not the ultimate goal. A person's true worth is defined by their efforts and independence. Irresponsibility and self-reliance are essential for growth. Only by facing challenges can we truly understand the joy of success. Sometimes, change doesn't come from receiving more, it comes from realizing that we must take action and take control of our own lives. Tuan's journey became a powerful example of personal growth and self-respect. It reminded everyone that no matter how many advantages life may offer, true success and lasting happiness come from personal responsibility, effort, and the courage to create one's own path.